Alrighty, hi everyone. That lighting is not, oh, there we go, that's better. Now it's focused. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down a bit. Hi everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm just gonna wait a second, and while that's focusing, I'm going to find what it is. Yep, that's what I need. Alright, I'll get started now, so then when people are watching it on replay, they don't have to wait forever. Alright, hopefully you can hear me properly. I'm just going to talk super loud anyway, so then we should be all good. Alright, so good morning. My name is Hope Trilina Gomez, and I am an independent consultant with Arbonne as well. I've been an independent consultant with Arbonne for about 2 years? 2 years actually. I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary and renewed my business. And I'm also a qualified personal trainer. I'm a Metafit coach, and I specialize in women's training. So I've actually done additional courses with women's specific training. So I actually really enjoy training women because I think that's super important. Having someone that's actually understanding our anatomy and how we work and how we differ to the male anatomy is really, really important. And I think it's a lot of things that people don't actually know, so they don't take into consideration, which is why I love being responsible for educating women on how to actually train properly. So that's what we're going to go into a bit about today. So a little bit about me. So I did mention my name. I'm a little bit nervous actually, which is weird. I was fine before, and now I'm like, oh. So I live in Southwest Sydney, Australia. I have been a personal trainer going about 3 years now. I'm contracted to a local all-women's gym in my local area, and then I do have a couple personal clients that I do myself, and then I train personally, and I'm kind of working a bit on a few different projects. So obviously while my Arbonne business builds, as you would have known, I'm also a nutrition student, and my diploma is actually in health science in nutrition. So what I'm actually learning about is more about obviously the body and the science behind health, and how to actually be healthy, and how to incorporate nutrition, and how nutrition is medicine, and how the body reacts to food, and how the body reacts as a whole, holistically, which is something I'm so passionate about, because if you're not looking after yourself wholeheartedly and as a whole, you're going to end up with all of these little nicks and crannies and all of these illnesses, because you haven't started from the core, which is looking after you as a whole. So I love what I study. I love what I do. I work my PT business on the side, and obviously working Arbonne and studying. It's a bit crazy, but it works. So I live at home. I live with my mom, and I have 2 cats. And I also have an amazing boyfriend that's really supportive of what I do, is really, really intrigued and interested with fitness and health and all of that too, which is really helpful. And yeah, I absolutely love what I do. I'm really, really lucky. All right, so I'm just going to get straight into it because I get a bit sidetracked sometimes. So we're going to be talking all about women-specific fitness. So we're going to be talking over a little bit about basic anatomy. We're going to talk a bit about what to consider when you're training, how our system and training ourselves differs from training a male. And we'll get into that when we get into it. Actually gaining results that are specific and important to you. And the difference between, oh, I said that backwards. Already said that. How to effectively train and have effective training methods, and how I train my clients to help them get results. And then at the end, I'm going to go over and cover some tips and tricks and things to keep in mind when you're training yourself. Whether you're at gym or at home, it really doesn't matter. The results, like a result's a result, and how you work towards that is totally okay. So first off, we're going to cover some basic anatomy. This is my favorite thing ever. So as I mentioned, besides health science, obviously I've learned a bit of anatomy with PT, and it's very full on to wrap your head around, so I'll keep it very basic, but it's the most intricate, interesting thing you'll ever learn. It's amazing. So basic anatomy, female versus male. Obviously, we have the obvious differences, visual appearances, and stuff like that. But what we're going to touch on is actually a little bit deeper, and the anatomy internal that's different. So first thing to keep in mind is that males actually have a 30% more muscle mass than us, which means naturally they're stronger, they will gain results faster because muscle burns more fat and burns more energy. So, I know, right? Lucky them. So they have 30% more muscle mass than us. Their metabolism's a little bit higher. They do have a slightly higher blood volume, higher blood content, which means oxygen's able to run around their body a little bit faster than ours. So when they're training, they won't fatigue as quick as us, so to speak, and they can lift a bit heavier first go. They will see results a bit faster, but that's not important. What we're focusing on is now us. So we have 30% less muscle mass, but we have 5% more mass overall. Okay? Now, reason why: we have boobs, we have bums, and we have an extra organ. We're designed to carry children. Yay! And also, obviously, every month we have a menstrual cycle, which changes our hormones and stuff, again, every single month when we're training. So what does that mean? Why is that important? Now, the reason why it's important, guys, is our head, male and female, our heads all weigh the same. So our heads all weigh the same. However, given that we have 30% muscle mass, we're balancing that mass on a smaller content. I don't know if that was the right word, but it'll do. Okay, so have you ever noticed and this is just a little bit of an example to put it into perspective for you, when you're at the gym and you watch like a male, they do a deadlift or they do a chest press or they do something and it's like, okay, cool, easy. And then you go to pick it up or you go to do something and you lose your balance a bit, or you kind of get thrown off a little bit about what to do. That's why. So our head, for our body, it's not in proportion. Like, it's heavier for us to be balancing our head because we have less muscle mass. All right. So that's one thing to keep into consideration. And later when I talk about difference between female and male exercising, it'll all kind of come together. Okay. So that's two things: less muscle mass, our head weighs the same. So we're balancing it on a smaller body, smaller frame. And we have 5% more mass. Now that 5% we explained is extra organ, boobs and bum, being able to carry a child. Our body has to adjust to all of that. So this is why it actually takes us longer to get results. It's not because we just aren't meant to. It's because our anatomy is completely different. Given that we have 30% less muscle and a higher fat percentage, our body stores onto energy and it works energy differently because we actually need that storage. We need that storage because our body needs to be able to rely on it when we do have, our time of the month, when we are carrying kids, when we are doing all these different things. Our body needs that extra capacity. So we have, more mass and less fluid compared to male, which is why they don't have all these different variables. They're able to just get in, get out, and it happens quicker for them. All right. So that's the main thing that I wanted to touch on with anatomy, and I think that makes sense. All righty. Next thing, what to consider when you're training. This is actually really interesting. So when I mentioned about our head being heavier but balancing on the same body, we need to focus on 3 things in our training: balance, stability, and strength. They are our 3 core things. Now, obviously, yes, cardio is important for that stuff, but in terms of you actually wanting to gain results and actually building a foundation to be able to lift heavy, train hard, whatever, they're the 3 things you really need to focus on: balance, stability, and strength. Now, my nose is running a bit, sorry. So, when you're training, you want to be training single-sidedly. So when I train my clients, and I'm going to get more in depth in this a bit later, but when I train my clients, I focus on one thing at a time. Reason being is because if you're doing two at a time, one side of you is going to naturally be stronger, right? So if you ever pay attention, especially ladies, if you wear heels, you'll lean to one side. When you grab shopping out of the car, you always grab it with one particular side. Whenever you step forward or you go to kick a ball or you go to walk up a step, there's always one side your body favors. And you've probably never paid attention to this before. So you're going to start paying attention to it now. Like when you get up from the train, when you get up from the seat, when you go to sit down on the leg, on the lounge, you're going to pay attention and notice that your body's going to start to lean and favor one side. What we want to do is force our body to have to adapt to both sides being equal, which means you have to train single-sidedly. So single leg squats, single leg deadlifts, single leg hip thrusters, single leg glute bridges, single leg war sits, all of these things single leg. And then obviously with your arms, same thing, single leg. This is now a leg. Single arm chest press. So lying down doing a chest press, same thing, but with one arm. Shoulder presses are one leg. Doing bent over rows, one. Oh my God, I keep saying leg. Arm. One arm, the one side of you, okay? And you will notice, and it's very, very interesting. It's my favorite thing whenever I run classes. This is how I set up my classes too. And I'll ask them, have you noticed one side is stronger or what side you favor? And everyone's like, So it's really, really quite interesting as a female to pay attention and get to actually learn and know your body. Now, the other reason you want to do single-sided stuff, there's something in my eyeball, is because if you're doing double-sided things, so double leg squats or double leg deadlifts, double chest press, without you noticing, and you won't realize unless one hand starts to hurt a little bit more or one glute starts to feel a little bit more, your body compensates. So even though you're lifting and everything is going up at once, your body is putting more weight on your stronger side. Does that make sense? So that one leg or that one side is still getting more weight bearing versus your other side, which of course over time is going to decrease in strength. And the reason why we want to avoid that happening is because as we age, and again, balance goes out, or when we're doing different things, or if you are pregnant, that side of you is going to not give way, but if you lose your balance, if you lose stability, if you fall over, it's because that side hasn't got the same amount of strength as your other side, which is what we want to prevent and avoid. So that is what we want you to be keeping in mind. The other thing to keep in mind, the best tip I ever got, is that what you do first, you do best. So if you're someone that really wants to work on core stability and building your core, or you want to work on flexibility, or you want to work on balance, or whatever it is. Obviously, flexibility, stretching, never do that first. You do that last. You need to be warm for that. However, what you do first, you do best. So if you're someone who has decreased core strength and you want to increase that, do all of your core exercises first. Make sure you're warmed up adequately so that you don't injure yourself, but do all of your core exercises first. Yep. All right, next thing. Gaining results. So again, I'm pretty much just flowing onto what I just said, and that pretty much kind of flew on and it's in flow. But when you're gaining results, first you have to have in mind what it is you actually want. So if you're wanting to gain strength, beautiful. Build the strength foundation first, so all the minor muscles, before you build the major ones. Now this is something that I find really prevalent with a lot of people in the gym. Now guys, I'm a people watcher. I'm also a trainer. So if I go to the gym, I eyeball people. They don't know that I'm a trainer, but I know what they're doing. And so I watch them. If you're new to the gym, you don't go and do a deadlift straight away. You need to build up to it. So I'm going to use a deadlift as an example because it's easy. A deadlift targets your glutes and your hamstrings, a little bit of your lower back, but mostly glute and hamstrings. So you need to be building up those muscles first. So you're going to start with minor things. You're going to start on the floor, body weight, just lifting up your bum, basically. So lying down, lifting up your bum off the floor. You're going to do that with single legs, 10. And then as that gradually starts to get a little bit easier, you'll then transform and progress to doing a proper deadlift. Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. So you've got to start from the basics and you need to actually work your way up. Now, the other thing, this is most important. A lot of people, they go to the gym, they do the same exercises day in, day out. They might adjust their weight a little bit, but otherwise it's the same exercise. Your body, our body, adapts, right? So if you're consistently doing the same exercise, you're not going to get a result. I'm sorry, but it's harsh truth. So if you go to the gym and your routine is squats, shoulder press, leg press, calf raises, what did I say? Shoulder press, lat pull down, chest press, back row. And you just do those exercises on a rotation. Your body, you'll see a result at the start and then that's it. Your body will adapt to that. Your body will get used to those movements and it'll go and go, okay, cool. All right. So what you need to consistently be doing is changing it up. Having a large variety of exercises, a large variety of different methods, which we'll go into later, and consistently changing it up, changing the weight, changing the reps, changing the activity, but still targeting the same muscle if you want to get a result. All right. So we'll go into more specifics of that a little bit later. All right. Moving on, difference between female training and male training styles. Now, this is where it gets more exciting. My throat just got really dry. Okay, now, ladies, have you ever watched a male train? I'm going to say yes. They're pretty interesting to watch. All right, now, when you watch a guy train, or the Olympics or anything, they're very stiff. That may not have been what you were wanting me to say, but they are. They are super duper stiff. They're very simple, and then back, right? They're very stiff. There's no flow. There's no mobility. So you'll watch a lot of guys in between reps. They will like move their arms around. If they're going to do lower body, they might like sit in a low squat. They might do all of these things because they're not as mobile as us. They're quite stiff and they don't have a lot of stability. Whereas we have a lot of mobility. And obviously we do need to work on stabilizing, but because of the way our body is, we are quite stable. It's just that balance thing we need to work on. Whereas with males, their balance is pretty okay unless they haven't really focused on it, but they're really not mobile. So they need to like make sure their joints are like lubricated and that they're able to do something with adequate form. So when males lift, they lift heavy and they do short, sharp movements. That's it. That's it. It's the same number of reps. It's the same movement pretty much, but higher weight. And that's what their body responds to. And you always increase the weight. You're always kind of changing the incline of something and you just adjust it slightly and they build mass. Whereas with us, we're the opposite. We're super mobility. You give us something super heavy straight away, we're going to hurt ourselves. It's just the way it is. We're not designed, hey Noah, we're not designed to be lifting super duper heavy straight away. We're designed to work on the minor muscles, first fix up that balance and build that minor strength before we progress to heavier stuff, right? Now, obviously, actually, I do need to touch and go back on what I said. Males do need to build up that minor strength as well. However, because of the way their body adapts a little bit easier than ours, their minor strength training is pretty much the same thing, but just with like not as heavy weight, right? Whereas with us, if we are, I just had a full mind blank. If we're going to be lifting super heavy, we need to progress to it and we need to do that single weight stuff. Whereas male, you tell them to do that, they're not going to do it. Right? They're a little bit more stubborn than us. So, good. I'm glad you're loving this. Bless. Yes, also, I want this to be like super interactive. So now that like there's a few of you watching, if you've got questions, type them down so I can answer them at the end. I should have said that at the start, but that's okay. So, the difference between training a female, which I've already touched on, is that our strength comes after minor building, right? We need to build up those minor muscles first because you need to build that foundation. So when you're training a female, You don't want to be jumping straight into the heavy stuff, which is what most people do. You want to actually have fun. So actually get the exercise ball. Do some exercise ball squats. Do some random things with the ball, with your core and stuff like that. Build that kind of comfortability with what you do and don't like, and then progress on it. So that's where it comes in handy to be doing your single leg stuff, to be building on your balance, to be building on those muscles, those core muscles, and minor then major, before progressing to heavy weights. Obviously still do weights because it's important, and I'm going to again touch on that with effective training methods. But don't jump straight into it straight away. Okay, so that's the difference between female and male. Effective training methods and how I train my clients. This is where the fun starts. So now I'm actually going to get specific. So I've touched on the basics of basic anatomy, difference between male and female anatomy, what to consider when you're training. So balance, stability, and strength. Then what you do first, you do best. Gaining your results, you need to know your results. And difference between female and male training. Right? Male is very simple, stiff movements. Female is more mobile, so you need to actually work on that stability first. Okay, so effective training methods for females. This is my favorite part. Now, resistance bands, amazing. They hurt like hell, but they're amazing. Weights, unnecessary. I'm going to wipe out a myth. If you actually are training with weights, you're not going to get bulky, okay? You're not going to get bulky. And the thing is, a lot of females, they avoid weights. And I know they do, because I have so many tell me that I don't want to do it. They avoid weights. They do cardio and they see no result, and they get super duper frustrated. Now, again, I'll touch on it a bit after, but the reason why we need weights, guys, is that our body is designed to carry babies. If you're not getting your body used to additional weight and building that bone strength and the weight bearing and stuff like that, your body's going to struggle through pregnancy. And you see it a lot of time with women that are pregnant for the first time, they haven't exercised, they don't exercise through their pregnancy, they get that abdominal separation, and then trying to come back, they really, really struggle because they've had a lot of breakdown in the process. So having that extra weight on your body makes your body adapt and get used to it, builds that strength, balance, and stability, and then you're actually going to adapt better. All right. Are you ready for effective training methods and how I train my clients? Let's go. So, effective training method number 1 is to actually pair your exercises. So pair your exercises in supersets. What this does is it puts more stress on you, which means your body is constantly... Yes, sorry, there was a question. I will answer that in a second, Noah, but yes, they do help. Which means your body is constantly going to be under stress. So, quick tip actually before I get into it is that as females, our body really works super well with adaptability. So we need to be consistently keeping it under a different level and a different method of stress. Sorry, I'm just going to hide comments for the minute so I don't get interrupted. Oh, I can't see it. Never mind. Our body needs to consistently be under stress and in different states all the time throughout your session so that you're consistently building up your muscular endurance and your muscular strength. All right? Because what happens is if you're doing, and I say this all the time, and that's why this is where my training methods change all the time. But if you're going to the gym and you're like, right, I'm going to do 20 of these, 10 of these, 5 of those, 6 of those, 7 times. Great. However, here's what's going to happen. You're going to do them, but each time you're going to pace yourself. You're going to just get through that one set and then work your way around, which means your muscle, it's still going to hurt, like it will hurt and it will be effective, but your muscle's going to actually adjust to that set faster. All right? So what you want to keep in mind when you're training is to be consistently changing it up and keeping yourself under different stress so that our body doesn't adapt to it, so that our body is capable of consistently adjusting to what it is we're giving it. So, when we're training, sorry, I'm like watching. So I mentioned about single See, my brain's like getting really excited with all of these different things and I'm just getting confused. So you want to train with single stuff. First thing, you need to make sure you're warmed up, but warmed up specifically to what it is you're actually training. So if you're going to be doing a leg day or a lower body exercise, in your warm-up you should include maybe 5 minutes of cardio. If you've got resistance bands, do some resistant bands. I call them squatty walks or like squat walks. So you've got the band above your knees in a squat position and you're like walking over. What that does is warms up the side of your leg, it'll warm up your bum, and it also gets your body used to that slight bounce and movement that's the position it's going to be in. So do walks up, walks back, 10 squats, do it again. Your legs, your bum's going to burn. You're good to go. All right. So that's a perfect warm up. If you're doing upper body, same thing. Little bit of cardio, get light weights and do a warm up set, and then you're good to go. In your warm up, you should start to feel a little bit of that muscular burn before you actually start. Make sense? Okay. So effective training methods is single leg and single body part exercises. So single leg deadlift, single leg squats, single leg like jumping forwards on things. If you're not sure about your balance and your ankle stability, sometimes it's best to do this with someone supervising you. Single arm chest press, single arm like pulling, so rows, shoulder press, all of that stuff, one arm at a time. Yes, it will take you a little bit longer, but that's okay. What it does is makes your body, again, have to rely on that side and that specific thing so that it's not actually compensating and going somewhere else. All right. Now, I mentioned about paired sets and supersets. So if you don't know what that is, it's where you have two particular exercises that are either opposite or the same, and you're doing them 1, 2, 1, 2. So a perfect superset, it would be, well, this is like a tough one, but like squats and jump squats. So you've got something that's slow and then something that's fast, but you're working the same muscles, but you're changing up the speed and the pace so your body's going to stay under stress. Another superset or paired would be a chest press. If you're not sure what that is, push up, and a bent over row. So where you're actually then utilizing your back muscles and doing the opposite. Giant sets. So you've got like 4 or 5 exercises. Another way you might think of it is like a circuit. So circuit and giant sets are kind of the same thing. You do all of those exercises and you start from the start, do it again. You want to be pairing unilateral with unilateral and bilateral with bilateral. So pretty much, and sometimes this confuses my brain too, so if you get a little confused, that's fine. But unilateral basically and bilateral is pretty much same with same. So if you're doing like squats, you want to then make sure that you're pairing it with another thing that's in the same kind of motion. So like squats and deadlifts, squats and lunges. And then if you're doing like wide stuff, so like I'd never even remember what they're called, but like arm abductions, then you might do in opposite to that, like other raises, like kind of like that. I have to actually double check and confirm what that is, because to be honest, that those, they always get me. But uni and bi, it's like same. Make sure you're doing the same kind of muscles, really. Alrighty. And working minor muscles and major muscles, not just major muscles. And then the last thing is making sure that you're doing progressive amounts of reps per set and doing about 25 to 40 reps per workout. Okay, so high amounts, because the higher amount it is, the more you're going to go into that muscular endurance, and you're pushing yourself past that point where you're actually going to start to make a difference. Okay, so yeah, do not pair different exercises or you will cause unique injuries, which is what you don't want. So when I say that, I mean like, oh, what's a really good example of that? Pairing different. It kind of makes sense. It's self-explanatory. Like if you're going to pair exercises, just make sure they complement each other. So That's it. Don't pair like all front body and not do back. If you're going to do like chest, you need to pair it with a back exercise. If you're going to do a lower body exercise like squats, you want to make sure that you're pairing that, so that's down, with like calf raises or something that's opposite. So yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, cool. All right. So, I can't move. That was awkward. Alrighty. So in addition to that, what you can keep in mind is if you're going to do a program split, if you're splitting your program, if you're training over a few days, what you're actually going to do. If you're going to do lower body one day, upper body another day, and mixed body another day, or if you're going to do half cardio, half weights, or all cardio and all weights another day, like work out what it is, what's best for you. A really good effective ratio is 2 to 3, or for every, so like 2 cardio, 3 weights exercise, or for every cardio session you do 2 weights. Okay. I hate reading off things because I confuse myself. I was like all in smooth before, and now I'm like, what am I doing? All right. Now the important part. So what you want to make sure you're doing is making sure that if you are using major muscle groups, that you know what you're doing. So major muscle groups are like obviously the ones that burn more energy, because it's like your squats, your push-ups, your pull-ups. They're like bigger muscle groups. But what you also want to keep in mind is that in order to do that, you need to have the strength in those minor muscles. So greatest example, our butt, our glute, there's 3 parts to it, 3 components to it. You have your gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus. So tiny, slightly bigger, big one. If you're only working your big muscle and not doing the little ones, you're going to have like strength, but it's not going to be stabilized. So you're still going to find that you might get like hip injuries or a few like uncomfortable hip things, because you're not actually working on that minor strength, which is what supports the bigger muscle in the long run to be able to do more effective exercise. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on stability before and after you're like working those bigger muscles. So again, we've spoken about it the whole time, single leg exercises. So single leg squats, single leg deadlifts, single leg calf raises, etc., etc. Now, if you're someone whose balance isn't fabulous, go to an assisted thing. So if you're at a gym, you've got the assisted squat rack, you've got the assisted, like the leg press, the actual machine where you sit on it and you press it, and it's got stack plates. Utilizing that, because you actually got something to sit on or lean on to. Then you've also got like the wall you can do with the yoga ball or Swiss ball. Have that behind your back and be doing single leg squats or single leg holds, and that's going to help you as well. That's going to build up the stability, the strength of the minor muscles to actually work on your major muscles. If you are at home and you don't have access to any of those, completely fine. Sit on the couch or the edge of your chair, one leg on the floor, one leg not on the floor, squeeze your bum and actually get up. So they're called sit to stands. They're super effective. I do them in the gym with my clients. If that's tricky, like actually work on that and then actually add resistance to it. If you don't have weights, that's fine. Grab a liter water bottle, grab like your protein shakes, grab your Arbonne box, like make it work. Okay, so whatever is done first gets done best. That's what I want you to keep in mind when you're doing this. If you need to work on that minor strength, do that first. If you want to work on your core, do that first. If you want to work on upper body and your upper body's not that strong and you know that you fatigue quickly, do that first. Reason being, 1, you're not fatigued, so your form's going to stay good and you're actually going to be able to focus on what you're doing. And 2, your brain is actually focused. Have you ever done a workout and you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, I'm so done. I just want to get this over with. We all have. So do what you need done first. All right. So couple training methods that I use. I don't need this anymore. I only needed those few tips. So, and it's just confused me. So, all right. Number 1. What you want to be doing is constantly adding stress and changing it up. So I will pick, so for today, example, I had 3 exercises and we kept it really simple. We did single leg, we did a kettlebell swing, which was double, and then we did single leg wall sits. So we did inclining reps. So 10, 15, 20. This is what I want you to keep in mind, right? Stacking your reps. So you can do 10, 15, 20. You can do 10, 12, 15, depending on how heavy you're doing it. Or you can do like 10, 20, 30, whatever. I play around with it. Sometimes I'll work up. Sometimes I'll do 20 and work down. Sometimes I'll be like, all right, we're going to do 10, 15, 20, 20, 15, 10. That hurts. Okay. So we did round 1 was 10 of the 2 exercises. So 10 single leg weighted hip thrusts. And then the 10 kettlebell swings. And then it was a 20-second weighted single leg wall sit on each leg. 20 seconds on each leg. Then round 2, same thing, but it was 15 each leg, 15 kettlebell swings, 20-second holds. Then it was 20, so 20 on each leg, 20 kettlebell swings, 20-second holds. Then the next thing we did was, again, targeting those minor muscles to build up that foundation, that stability. So we hooked it around on our ankle, on the, sorry, I've skipped a step. On the stacked machine, we did a leg extension. So on the cables, glute extension, sorry. And we did 10 of those. On the 10th one, there was a 10-second hold. Oh, there was a hold in the other one too, but that's okay. Then they changed the exercise. 10 again, 10-second hold. So what you want to be keeping in mind, sorry, have I confused anyone? We're good. So what you want to be keeping in mind when you're exercising is purely this. Pick what works for you, stack them, and holds. Okay? So I don't always stack them, but I do attempt to always put in a hold or at least something to make it harder. Reason why? Your body doesn't adapt. You're getting those extra reps in, and you're also pushing your body to have to work harder. Because when you're already tired, you've done 10, then 15, now you have to do 20, you're getting to where your body's capable, and then you're pushing it more. It's those last few that count. It's those last few that makes the difference. So you got to get to where you can get to and then do some more, right? The hold is what makes it really effective, because the hold is what actually keeps your muscle activated, right? And that's what builds the strength. So having that adjustability and having that consistent stress, tension, and stress and tension on the muscle, and the muscle activated, is what actually builds it up. And doing that single-handedly and single-sidedly gives your body no choice but to actually have to rely on that muscle and build it up. And you watch, and when you practice, you'll experience it as well. You'll understand that one side, so for me, my left side is slightly stronger than my right side for some reason. So with my left side, I can do it okay, but with my right side, it hurts. Like, it gets really painful, and getting that hold up is hard, right? So that is something to keep in mind. So the second thing you can do, the other training method you can do, is lighter weight, higher reps. It's pretty obvious. And then obviously higher weight, lower reps. So for example, for me, I did today that section that I just said, and then I also did a heavy bar hip thrusters. So it's 50 kilos. Well, actually, it wasn't that heavy. For me, I can probably do heavier than 50 kilos, but I haven't actually. So I had a 50 kilo bar, double leg hip thrusters with holds. So, hang on, so what was my point? Lower weight, higher reps. So what I did with this, and you can do this as well, but this is an example. I hope this is helping. Examples are helpful for me. So I was doing 10 reps with the bar, then holding for 10, then 5 more reps, holding for another 10 seconds. That was set 1. And this is with a 50 kilo bar. Okay. Then Round 2, had to like let myself rest and mentally brace myself. Round 2 was 10 reps with a 10-second hold, plus 5 more reps, another 10-second hold, and then 5 more reps, 10-second hold, rest. Then the last set was exactly the same, but with another set of 5. I'm not kidding you. I was like on the verge of tears. It was so goddamn painful, but really effective, because for me, 50 kilos, yes, I could feel it. The first round, not so much. But by the second round, it started to get really heavy. By the third round, my muscles were at that point where they were like, holy crap, when is this finishing? So having that lighter weight is effective, because the more you do, obviously the weight doesn't get any heavier, but your muscles start to fatigue and you're actually starting to get it over that endurance threshold, which is what's so effective, which is what you actually want, because that's when your body's starting to develop those little micro tears, which is what we want. We want our muscles to have micro tears, so then that way the muscle goes, oh, we have to recover that, builds more muscle. So the more you push yourself past that threshold, the more your muscle has to adapt and build. But remember, again, we don't want that complete adaptability, otherwise we're going to plateau. But it has to adapt, it has to build, and you have to create more strength. Okay? All right, so lighter reps, lighter weight, more reps, or heavier weight, lower reps. So if you are going to build heavy, very important, if you are going to do heavy lifting, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to have someone with you. I still personally will not do heavy reps without anyone supervising me, in case I do feel like I'm going to drop it, or I'm just not comfortable or confident. Even as a trainer, knowing form, knowing how to correct myself, and knowing how to, like, you know, set yourself up accordingly, I still won't do it. All right? So if that is something you want to play around with, get a friend or get a trainer. Okay, another one you can do is what's called 21s. So what you do, you pick an exercise, for example, we're going to do squats, and you split it up into 3. So you've got obviously your down phase. So in your down phase, you do 7 pulses, then you come up to the middle, 7 pulses, and then at the top, 7 pulses. 1 set. Down. 7, 7, 7. That's 2. Down. 7, 7, 7. That's 3. And you pick your reps. So with that one, you probably do about 10. 5 or 10. Start with 5, work your way up to 10. So you could do 5, then you could do 7, then you could do 10, right? So that's still same thing. The stacking, different thing. And even then you could do 10, and then you could try and do a 10-second hold on that down phase. That will hurt, but it'll be effective. That again, you can do that on your single leg. So you're building up that muscular stability and that strength. All right, so 21s. This one is one of my favorites and the most effective way to really hurt your muscle. It's called 1 1/4. So what this does, we're going to use, again, single leg squat as an example. So what 1 1/4 is you do 1 full rep and then you do a quarter of a rep. 1 full rep, a quarter of a rep, and that counts as 1. So 1 1/4 is 1. 2 2/4 is 2. 3 3/4, 3. Make sense? 3 1/4. Does that make sense? So then what that does is you're getting that whole rep, so that whole mobility movement, and then that 1/4 is just activating it that little bit more, and you'll feel that as well. The other technique you can do is timed. So for example, if we were doing we'll just stick to squat. Everyone knows what a squat is. As you squat, so obviously you come on the down phase normal, you do the up phase over like 8 seconds. Or you can change it up, do the down phase over 8 seconds and then come straight up. Down phase over 8 seconds, squeeze your bum at the bottom, straight up, squeeze your bum at the top. Relax as you come down. That's a really big thing with squatting. Relax as you come down, squeeze your bum at the bottom, squeeze your bum at the top. Okay? What other training methods do I have that I put onto my clients? I think that's most of them. You can play around with it and you can pick exercises, pick your training methods and go as many rounds as possible in a set amount of time. You can do it abbreviated. If it's too easy with the weight, then add resistance bands, because that actually adds more stuff. So I do have a question. Hey Rubes. Okay, so our resistance bands actually help. I've heard that they don't do a lot, so I've never bothered with them. Yes. Resistance bands do help. Resistance bands are amazing. They're really, really effective because it's additional resistance. So if you're not wanting to do weights but you're still wanting to work up a sweat, or like you're not going to be home, it's easier to just chuck bands in your bags and weights and be using it. It still has the same effect. It's really good as well to be using resistance bands to work out the sides of your legs and stuff, that if you're not comfortable with weights, you can do that. So you hold in a squat position and just move your arms in and out. You can even stick a resistance bands around your wrists, and do this, and you'll feel it all up your arm. There's so many more things that you can do with a resistance band than you can't do without it. So building up the minor muscle strength, walking with resistance bands, lunging with resistance bands, it just makes things harder. It just puts on more stress, and it makes it more challenging for our body to adapt to it. Doing like donkey kicks, glute extensions, all of that stuff with a resistance band is also super highly effective. Again, if you don't have a machine to use it with weights. Okay. So the last thing, because what is the time? I'm mindful I've been talking for a while. Yeah. But that's okay, because this is all effective and you can watch and learn. So the last thing is some tips and tricks for your training and things to keep in mind. I think I've covered most things. Okay. Now, also, if you have any extra questions, type them in now. So, tips and tricks. 1, you need to know what kind of but how you are when you train. So, what I mean by that, I didn't know how to how to ask that question. What I mean by that, guys, when you train, and it might sound silly, but when you train, are you a really sweaty person? Are you a sweaty person? So me personally, reason why, this is why it'll make sense. I have bad circulation in my hands. I have chill glands. So I have circulation here, it's warm, but from about here down, I have pretty much close to no, like it's minimal circulation. So my hands are always like ice cubes. So when I train, obviously my heart has to pump faster, which means my body gets a bit more blood, blah, 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 blah. So my hands get quite clammy. They do stay cold, but they get clammy and a little bit sweaty, which means I physically struggle to grip the weight. So when I train, I need to train with gloves. And if I don't have like my gloves on, I actually get anxiety because the bar slips. And I've been in the middle of a session before where I didn't have gloves and I almost dropped, I think, how heavy was it? Maybe 40 kilos or something. But I was doing like a deadlift and I almost dropped the bar because I physically couldn't grip it. So you need to keep in mind, if you are a sweaty person, how are you going to keep that not under control, like you need to sweat, but how are you going to adapt to that? So perhaps don't wear tracksuit pants to the gym. Have like tights on, maybe short tights. Have a light jacket so when you start to warm up, you can take it off. Have a crop top on, so if you feel comfortable, like an actual sports bra, you can take your top off if you start to get super sweaty. So then that way your body can adapt and work best. So that's like one tip. Another tip is your energy. Now, we've heard about this multiple times through different trainings, and we've heard about this in different things. But what you need to keep in mind with your energy is, when do you actually train best? Are you a morning person or a night person? Are you someone who will train if you're just at the gym? If you're not like at the gym, will you train at all? So for me, I personally work best in the afternoon or like mid-morning when it comes to training. I don't really like training in the morning. I'm too tired. My body hasn't adjusted and my brain kind of doesn't switch on until like 12 o'clock. But I work quite good at nighttime. Like I work best at nighttime. So whenever I'm on shift at the gym, I'll usually stay back after my shift and train then because I know I work best then. So, yeah, actually training when you can effectively train. The other thing, another tip to keep in mind is to actually take your period into consideration. Now, it is about females, so I'm just going to say it as it is. When you're on your period, your body changes. Your ligaments, your tendons, your bones, not to a massive degree, but because obviously we have different hormones shooting through our body kind of just adjusts a little bit, and our strength kind of decreases because we fatigue quicker. And it's not so much that we lose our strength or that we're not capable. Like, you can still do the same thing, but it's not as easy. So for example, when I'm on my period, I don't train as heavy. I'll use lighter weights and I'll do more like body weight stuff, or I might stick to cardio a little bit more when I'm on my period because it's more comfortable for me. Because I know when I train, I like to lift heavy. I like to do like exercises that I have to focus on my balance, exercises like a hip thruster, one of my favorite exercises. The bar is literally on that part of you. It lines along your pelvis and you move it on your legs, but it kind of crushes your stomach a little bit when you're trying to get into position. So if I'm already uncomfortable, I'm not going to really want to be doing that at that time of the month. So keeping that in consideration, and given that, when's going to suit you, like what's going to suit you best? How can you adapt around that time of month to still get an effective training session? The other thing that I also make really important to my clients is to trust your body. Trust your body, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. If you go to do something really heavy and you go to pick it up, and normally you can, but like, you know, you're under a bit of stress or you haven't slept properly, or like, again, you're on your period, don't force yourself to do it. Like, honestly, just don't, because you're not going to be in the right headset of it. You're not going to be picking that weight up with the intention of, I can do this. It's going to be like, I can do this. Like, I should be able to do this. And your body, yeah, you might get through it, but it's possible that after 3 reps or something, you might not have the like exact form, or you might not do something like 100%, not 100% right, but you might not do it right. So as a result of that, you actually slip up and injure yourself. So keep in mind, if you feel you don't have it, you don't have it. Pick a lighter weight, do a different exercise, just do something else. Okay, other tips. Actually exercise. Move. You need to move. You cannot sit there and complain that you haven't got the result that you want if you're not doing it. You need to exercise. You need to move. You don't have to join a gym. You just have to move. Nutrition. Nutrition is your best friend. Nutrition is responsible for 80% of your results. Arbonne Nutrition is your best friend. Fizz sticks are your best friend. Vitamin B helps you actually utilize fat storage and helps you with that. A lack and a deficiency of vitamin B can actually taint and increase the fat that your body stores onto. Now, I don't know a lot of information about it. It is a few things that I've just picked up through my, like, the nutrition part at college that we haven't gone in depth in yet, but I do know that vitamin B does play a role in that. Keeping in mind of the nutrition, and like most of you guys in this group, these are Arbonne consultants, or if you're watching this, you're in this group because you've been approached by an Arbonne consultant, and it's the #1 health and wellness company in the world with the best products on the market. Now, obviously, everyone's opinion on supplements is different. I'm all for it if it's something you want, and I will not touch anything that isn't an Arbonne supplement because I know, there's a cat scratching at my door, I know how important these supplements actually are in helping you. Making sure that your levels are all adequate. This is actually a top tip. So if you're training and you're feeling super, super fatigued, and I don't mean fatigued as in muscularly, I'm talking fatigue as in like you're struggling to breathe, you're not feeling like you're recovering, you're feeling really exhausted the next day, and to get to the gym is a really big deal, do a blood count. Do a blood count, just check that your iron's okay, your B12's okay, your energy's okay. So then that way you can actually train effectively, because if your hormones or your minerals and stuff are out, hang on, I have to let my cat in. If they're out, really? Quick? Good girl. If they're out, it is going to hinder your results, and it's also going to play around with what you're capable of doing. What? So keep that in mind, and I do actually recommend to a few of my clients every now and then, if they're feeling a bit awkward or a bit off, to do that and get a blood test, just because then that way you know. My other top tip, make sure you give yourself recovery time. Make sure you're sleeping or at least just resting, because that is where your results happen. Yes, the gym is a catalyst for it and the gym does help with results, but you need to make sure that you're resting enough, Sphinx, to get a result. So that is everything that I have right now. So hopefully that was helpful and you found that interesting. It did go a little bit longer than I expected it to. However, as you can imagine, covering women's fitness, being a personal trainer, you learn a lot as you go. And yeah, there are a few things that I do need to double check, and I can confirm. If you are watching the replay of this, you can ask questions and I will respond. You can message me personally and I will respond. And yeah, don't be afraid of training. Don't be afraid of training. Enjoy weights. Actually have fun doing weights. And if you're really concerned, guys, actually, and this is my other top tip, and this isn't because I'm a trainer, this is a genuine thing. Invest in a personal trainer if you want to know how to train. The most important thing, your form. If you're not sure about form, how you should be holding yourself, how you should be doing weights, a personal trainer will help you with that. They will help you specifically with what it is you need, with a program that suits you best or exercises that suits your goal best. And they will actually make sure that you don't injure yourself. Now, it's not necessary to do PTs long term unless you want them. And I know that might, honestly, as a PT, I say that to you because it's not. But it's necessary if you want to learn how to train adequately. Now, the other cat's at my door. So keep that in mind. Take that into consideration. I really hope this helped and it added value to you. If you have any questions, please ask them. And you can ask them here too, so then other people can read and I can answer it. Yeah. That's everything that I have. Otherwise, I'll keep babbling. So I hope you have an amazing day. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much for jumping on to watch or watching the replay. And you'll see me in a few weeks.